Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Technologies Solid Edge University 2022. My name is Manny Marquez. I'll be conducting this breakout session on solid edge electrical design. Today, we are going to talk about the need for intelligent solutions to support design of products that contain electrical components and wiring. The majority of our products across many different industries contain electrical components and wiring, such as industrial machining, industrial food processing equipment, agriculture machinery, special vehicles, energy utilities equipment, aerospace equipment, consumer products, and medical equipment. Interconnected electronics is a core of every aspect of our lives. Electronics is in everything, and everything is connected. In the traditional approach, electrical and mechanical engineers work in two different environments. Solid Edge developed specifically and enable electrical and mechanical engineers to work together, creating a tightly integrated electrical mechanical solution. Solid edge wiring design is a tool for designing the wiring of electrical systems for multiple industries. Solutions include for 2D ECAD schematic creation tool, built-in intelligent part libraries, embedded simulation and validation tools ensure design correctness. Connected mode provides tightly integrated MCAD collaboration. So I just kind of give you overview of the electrical design workflow. This is where we're going to be focused on the beginning here, solid edge wiring design, and then we're going to bridge out to the electrical routing, which is your mechanical CAD, which is solid edge. Just as a side note here, you also notice that's got VSys in there. Uh, solid edge electrical works only with solid edge, right? So solid edge electrical, it's specifically what works with solid edge. Now, the VSys is essentially the same as solid edge electrical, but it's CAD neutral. It works with SolidWorks, Creo, CATIA, and NX. Right, so we're just gonna go ahead and show you that. And let me bring that up quick here. There we go. All right, so this is the kind of give you a demo overview here. What we're going to be covering on this ANSI standard ladder diagram and schematics here. So we're going to go over 2D wiring design, creating a device, adding pins to devices, basic drag and dropping devices and symbols. So let's go ahead and start that. So I'm going to go ahead and just point out a couple of things here. So you already have a PLC device in here, right? If I click on it on the design tab here, it points it out right here, and I'm going to go ahead and expand that, kind of show a little bit here. And you can see if I click on the pins there, actually will show them to you in the graphics here. Okay. If I wish to go ahead and add additional ones, I could do that as well. I could go ahead and select that option here to go ahead and add a pin. Another option would be if I want to go ahead and, let's say it was a very complicated um, device here and I want to go particular, uh, you know, look for a particular pin, things like that. So if I have one like this, I could go and say, well, let me go find it and go zoom to that area. And you go ahead and zoom that area. Obviously, that's right there. So that's kind of nice way of doing that as well. All right, so if I want to go ahead and drag devices into my ladder diagram, so what I could do is I go to the parts tab here, and if I knew of a part already, I could just browse to it here. You can see that I could just do that. Another way of doing that is simply by if you know the name of that as well. So you simply click on that, point it out, and at that point, I simply could drag it into my graphics area here. And I'm gonna go ahead and place one right here. And I could just simply, if I wish to add another one, basically I'm doing is just copying that over. Instead of dragging it, you could have done that as well, but since I already have it in here, I could just copy and paste that. And that's essentially what I did here. Okay. If I wish to add another, now some wires, let's see here. Excuse me. First of all, I'm going to make sure I get the right filter here to get the results that I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and select the wires here. There are going to be multiple wires. So if I select those pins there, and you can see that if I have something across from that, I know that's the intent that I wish to do. So I'm going to do that, hit enter. You can see what is done here when I input the wire. You got the next one, 13, and so on. You could change that if you wish to do that. If you want to have wire W, whatever prefix you want, you could go ahead and change that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and select the wires here and actually add a property to that. So I'm going to go to the library and select. You can see there's quite a bit of wires in here. I'm going to select delete. Select that one right there is fine. At that point, now I have a wire it's got properties into it. Next thing I want to do is I can go ahead and copy one of these. I'm going to show you what the zones are right here. So you got the 506. Obviously, this is this one right here. I could copy that over and say I want to place this right here. And you can see that's going to be now 505. And I could drag it over to this side right here, and it's got 526 now. And at this point, I could go ahead and add a wire and do the same thing here, from here to there. All right. So that's a couple of the options that you have there. Another thing I want to do is come back down to the bottom here and kind of continue on where I left off. However, I'm going to change my options here, how I want to route those wires. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Go back up and select multiple wires here. And then select those pins there. And this time I'm going to go to this one first. And you see how it's just allowing me to go into the next one over. And once I'm done with that, then I could just simply drag them, place them accordingly. If I wish to go ahead and move them around here, let's see the name here, and maybe rotate that as well, I could do that. I'll go ahead and back and simply say rotate to kind of fit there if that's what I wanted to do. It doesn't seem like maybe it kind of follow with the rest of them, so I could put it back up here and rotate that there. Another thing too is if you decided to name that wire on the fly here, I'm just gonna put in something I know they already exist. Say, for example, something like this. Um, and then I'm gonna go ahead and as soon as I type in that number there, that one, see how it turned red? Obviously, it's telling me that that wire already exists, which is good. You want that. Um, if you go ahead for whatever reason you want to name this particular wire a specific name, you could do that. But if it already exists, it's going to give you an indication. It's turned red there. See, if I put two, it's fine. If I go back and put one, it's not saying basically you can't do that. Or if you just, continue on with the auto naming, which is typically what people do. But in some cases, you will need to come back and place in a specific wire with specific name. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out in this area here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now and show you how to create a device. There's two options to do that. You could go ahead and select one on the fly here and simply say, I want to place this one up here. Let me just drag it out here, somewhere on the side here. And at that point, I could add a pin on the fly if I want to do that. And let's say that's fine. I could add as many as you want. That's one way. Obviously, this device here is just kind of created on the fly. There's really, nothing assigned to it or anything like that. There's no properties to it. Or I could go and create a device from the library. Now, when I do that, obviously it's going to ask me what device do you want. So you could go ahead and find it. If obviously you really have a predefined database, quite lengthy. It's quite a predefined devices already that you don't have to. You could just go ahead and use them. So if you know the particular name for that device, you could just say, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I know it starts with a ZF, and right as soon as I do that, I know that's the one I probably want. So yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's a red LED monochrome PMP vision sensor, and at that point, I'm gonna go ahead and bring that in. Now I'll say yes, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna say okay, and I'm gonna simply place it right around this area here. And see how it went in place there for me. And now if I wish to add wires to it, I'm gonna go ahead and place it right about here. And I'm gonna go back up here. If you remember this, I'm gonna go back to wire here, and I'm gonna go ahead and window select those and go the next one over. Oh, wait a minute, I think I missed one. I did. That's fine there. Okay, I'll just go ahead and leave those like that and say okay, that's fine. And see how it plays them in there. And obviously you could route them if you wish to do that as well. If you don't like the way it's routed, that's fine. You could go ahead and drag them around. But essentially, that's how it's done. All right, so then we're going to go now to the wiring harness and panel layout design. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to another project here. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do with this one right here. So, uh, so I already have a backplate template. You could do that. You could define these up front. If that's what you want to do, or if you want to create one. So it depends too, right? If you're using something off the shelf that you're buying it, or you making a custom, you could go ahead and create one in your own if you wish to do that as well. So I already have one defined here, so I'm gonna go ahead and simply click on that one right here, and you can see that I'll show that in a minute here specifically how this one comes out to look on the actual 3D mechanical. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to start laying out my channels. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the channel here. Let me zoom a little closer here. And I'm going to start right about here. So I'm going to drag it out about 630 or so. There it is right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of line it up so that I get the little graphical indication to me that that's perfectly lined up in there, centered. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to create another one right about here. And that's going to be 176. And I'll do the same thing. I'm going to zoom a little closer and then drag it. And you're going to see those little indication lines there indicating to me that's perfectly aligned there. And that's exactly what I'm looking for here. I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of drawing or dragging it, create one, I'm going to go ahead and copy this one because it's going to be exactly the same. Oh, I thought I copied there. Control and then Control V. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and align it right about here, there, right there. And that's pretty much what I'm looking for. I can go and let's say here, oh yeah, I want to show you this. So if I go to drawing here, I talked about the borders earlier, right? You could predefine these and whatever industry you're in. Obviously, this is the panel design that I was looking at. You have other borders for, harness schematics, things like that. So that's basically, and again, you could define these, customize it to your needs. You can see that you could predefine all these different properties in there. So that's how you would do that. Excuse me. Now that I put in my channels in here, notice if I click on it, and you notice there's really, I'm going to show you a little indication that's telling you that this is just a representation of that channel. There's really nothing to say that specific channel. And also you will notice a little bill of materials will come up here when I assign an actual part number to that. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a name here. So I'm going to go ahead and say do that right here. I'm gonna go ahead and find one. I know they start with a CH there, so this is the one I'm looking for. Channel 40 here, 40 millimeters. I think that's a standard. So now it gives me that exactly what I'm looking. As soon as I do that, you're gonna see that little check mark right there, and also indication to me that's been added to that. And you see that right there. I pointed out there earlier, but you can see that here. And you could do the same thing with all of them here, because actually that's what you want. At the end of the day, you want this to be part of your bill of materials, so you know exactly what you have for, how much it's going to cost. So I'm going to go ahead and put another one here. Oh, wrong location there. There it is right there. and place it right there. All right, now you notice here, it's going to keep adding those up in here. You see there's a channel and there's three of them in there. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. The next thing is I'm going to put in the DIN rails. So I'll go back up here and actually zoom a little closer here. So right about there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my DIN rails here. And I'm going to try to get as close as I can to the center of that. So I'm going to go ahead and place that as well. And that's going to be 575. 575 here. Get as close as I can. There we go. And do the same thing. Basically grab it, drag it, and get it close as there we go right there. So it's perfectly centered there. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom here. Create another one here. And that's going to be 450. Right about there. And again, I'm going to try to grab it, get as close as, sometimes I need to zoom a little closer here. And looks right there. Okay. All right, and do the same thing again. I know that these were, standard rails here, DIN rails. So I could click on these and we go ahead and do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and I know that these are mount rails here, and it's gonna be this one here I'm looking for. You see how it populates my properties in there, and now it populated my bill of materials as well up there. And do the same thing at the bottom one. And you notice here is, the little check mark there is indicated to me. The little orange one is indicating me that is part of it's included as a part from my library. So I'm going to do the same thing here again. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing right there. And you see it right there. And I have 3 channels and 2 DIN rails there. All right, so now it's there. If you wished, you could go ahead and place dimensions. So I'm going to place a dimension. Let's say you want to get an idea where, approximately how far they're from the actual control panel there. And I'm going to place it right about there. And I'll do another one here so you can kind of get an idea how far they're apart. Now keep this in mind. This is not, these dimensions are reference dimensions. They're not actually, if I go back and try to click here, it's not going to move this. It's just basically indicating to you that that's what the distance between one to the other. So it's not like CAD where you could go in and punch in a value and move it for you. It doesn't really do that. Just kind of FYI there. All right, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to start dragging devices to my control panel here. And I actually noticed something here. Oh, it's not perfectly aligned there. Let me move that right there. There you go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and start dragging some. But before I do that, I need to kind of explain to you what's going to happen here. What is the next step I'm going to do? And kind of give you a workflow of how this are associated. All right, so these are bound right here, right? This is the schematics that let me go ahead and open that up real quick here. So these are my schematics, and obviously showing you, where how things are laid out. From this is I believe a compressor here, and it goes to this other some kind of a switch here or circuit breaker, things like that. So this is how, and then obviously you have the pins, the wires, and all that, how they connected, and so on, so on. So what I need to do here, I'm going to go back to my plate here, my template plate here. I need to associate these schematics right here to uh, my template here, my panel design here. So right now, that I need to just basically say I need to associate this with this. Okay, so basically, in order for me to do that, I need to go ahead and associate design. So I need to go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, add associate design here. Now this is the project that I want to work with. This area here, which is this one right here, right there. This one right here. So you can see that this and this I need to associate with this. All right, so I'm going to select that and say okay. And basically, there it is right there. What I'm going to look for is on the design part right here on the devices. You can see there's on place devices there, and obviously there they are right there. And what I'm going to do now on the group side here, you can see there's zones, right? So those are what are not placed yet. I need to go ahead and drag these into my specific zone here. So that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing you could do is, I could go to, for example, if I go back to my designs here, just kind of give you an idea. Let's say I grab one right here, and I go into properties, and you can see that some of these are uh, specifically designed for a specific zone right here. So this is zone two. So that's how you define it, and it makes it a lot easier. So that way you kind of have a better way of adding these systematically. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my groups here, and I'm going to go to the first one. I'm going to go ahead and show you how the first one is. So it's going to be, and this is going to be the way you select them. I'll kind of point them out as I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select the F1, for example, and I'm going to go ahead and place that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and place it right about here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and select the other one. Now, this is the way you basically select, and that's kind of the way the order is going to be. So K1 and K2. So I'm going to go ahead and, it's basically from left to right, and that's the order. And I'm going to do shift here to kind of select multiple ones in there. And now I'm going to go ahead and place those. So I'm going to K1 and K2. So I'm going to go ahead and place that. And you can see right away now, you can see the indication of the wires that are associated with that. So I'm going to say I'm going to go right about here, right about there. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. And the next one is going to be kind of a little more trickier because again, this is and I'll explain the reason why you need to make sure this is the order that you want them to, because this is how they're placed in the 3D CAD. And I'll show you that in a minute here. All right, so the next one is going to be K6, and I'm going to do control, and I'm going to do this K3, K4, and K5. And that's going to be the order. So once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and place that now. And you can see, obviously, the wires again, they're associated with that. And I'm going to go ahead and place it right about here. Okay. All right. So once I place those, I'm going to go back again. And I'm going to start doing selecting more again. So I'm going to go, this time I'm going to do multiple selections here. So it's going to be K1, KA1, basically this one right here. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Deselect that. There you go. Yeah, make sure you don't select something you already have it selected already in this panel here. So I'm going to go do the same thing again. So KA1, and that's going to go all the way to K10. So it's going to be shift. Make sure I select all of those. And then it's going to go to J1, which is this guy, and R2, RT2, and RT1, and D1. All right, so again, this is kind of it's sort of kind of you have to kind of follow that because like I'll point out earlier in a minute here why that order is very important. So I'm going to go ahead and place those, and I'm going to place them right about there. You don't want to overlap over the other ones here, so I'm going to go ahead and place it there. Okay, and it's kind of going through those things, process and everything. There it goes. As you notice here, as I'm doing that, it's populating my bill of materials as well. All right, so I'm going to go to the next one over here. So this is going to be E3, excuse me, and all the way to E5. And these are going to go right about here. Let me zoom a little closer here. They're going to snap into these other ones right here. And go ahead and place that. And I'm going to snap it right in there. And you can see the alignment there, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to place that there. So I'm done for zone one. And go to the next one over, zone two, which is going to be this zone right here. For these right here, I'm going to go ahead and select. Let me go further down here. It's going to be R to R, S, and T. And go ahead and place that. And I'm going to place it right about here. There you go. And then the next one is going to be, all right, so it's going to be still, all right, no, actually, it's not. I'm good. So I'm going to go back here. It's going to be 1 to 6. And then it's going to be a separate group here. I'm going to go ahead and place that. And then the next group is going to be 7 to 75. And place that right about here. You see it's taking a little bit time because it is a lot of devices there. Okay, now that it's placed everything, the next thing it's going to do is, I mean, like I said earlier, you do have the ability to, if you're satisfied and then you want to still get an idea of where the dimensions go, you can still come back, and earlier I added some vertical dimensions here. You could come back and put in some horizontal dimensions and see how far they are from each other, whether it's from the back plate to the DIN rail, right? Do that. You do have the ability to go back, and there's another one here. In other words, from here to the next one over, that's specific. That's something you need to have from one to the other one. So yes, you could go back and place some dimensions. Now, however, remember I pointed out earlier is that you can't enter a value here and expect for this to move or adjust based on the value you enter. It's not going to do that. So that's how that works. One thing I was pointed out earlier, you notice here that there is obviously there's added devices and so forth. It would just place them in here, and it will give you the quantity, the part description, internal part number, and so forth. You can also have you can expose a customer part number if you have that, things like that, or supplier part number. Now, one thing they didn't point out is that it does not have an ID yet. Does not know where this device is located in here, right? So I mentioned earlier, right, that the reason why we went in there and selected these specifically in a specific order is because in the CAD, let me go ahead and just jump in real quick here, just kind of show you that. I did say that I was going to show you that. I'll go back in here, and if I look at this, you see how it looks very similar, right? So these are devices that I just dragged in here. These are my channels. Obviously, the back plate is the orange one back there, and these are the devices that I dragged in here. I'm going to point out earlier too in a minute here is how we're going to go ahead and actually cross select these, and we show them in mechanical and also on the solid electrical. So anyways, I just thought I'd kind of point out the reason why it was important to select them in that specific order, because that's how they're laid out already in the mechanical. All right, so there they are right there. I'm going to switch back again. So yes, I also need to identify the ID for each one of these. So what I need to do is under the automate tab here, I'm going to go ahead and generate IDs. So if I look close right here, you can see populating right there. It's also going to point them out right here exactly where they're at. So I'm going to go ahead and generate that. And you can see that did that right pretty quick. You can see that they're already in here, right? So you got 18. You want to see where's the 18 at? Up here. There it is right there. Okay. So that's kind of ways you can see how, especially if you want to know, the people out in the floor, how to have this put together. That's going to be in the order it's going to be, so you can identify them, how they're going to go, and so forth. Okay, so that's how that works. I have the ability to go say, for example, now mention if you remember, I mentioned earlier that I assigned these two together, right? So when I assign these associate designs, so these are now connected with this right here, right? So now if I go back in here and select, let's say K1, right? Now this is obviously, I want to know where this is going to be in the schematic, so I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, tell me where this is located. And so I hit that X there, and it's going to tell me right here. Now you see what it did? It took me back to my schematics here and say, there's K1 right there. All right. So I could go back again and say, for example, oh, no, wrong one. Go back to my plate here, and let's say K2. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and show me that. So I'm going to hit the X there, my shortcut there, and it goes out right there, K2. Right, I could do the same thing here. I could go and say now within my 2D schematics here, I want to go see where this takes me here. I'm going to go ahead and do that, and now go ahead and finds it and tells me where it continues off. All right, so you see that's kind of, it took me to a different one. All right, so if it actually, this was not even open, so it went out and opened it and pointed out where it was located. All right, so that's kind of, it's the way it works. All right, so let me go back to this right here. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. Oh yeah, one other thing too is we could go to show you reports. So I'll go to here, go to reports here, and obviously this is the project that I'm working on. You can see you could have the wiring and layout design, which one you want, and based on that, let's say what report do you want? You want the connector list, wiring, design wire list. So you can click here and go ahead and generate it for you. There you go. You can see, let's make it a little bigger here. Wiring name. So it goes, gives you all the, it doesn't give me the length yet because I haven't bridged it out here. This option right here, I'll talk about in a minute here. And because this is right here, only a 2D representation doesn't have, it's not at the 3D level yet. Once we get that into 3D, then we could actually bridge it back in and get the length there. So that's how that will work. So anyways, but that's how the reports work. I could close that if you wish to do that. You could go to the device list here and you can see all that information. You could either save it or print it out, whichever you want. All right, so we're going to go ahead now into the connected mode. All right, so the best way to show you that is, and I need to go ahead and bring my 3D mechanical CAD here. And I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it and kind of show you both real quick here. There you go. Okay, so, and actually this is, I'm using two monitors. I'm bringing it into one, so for demo purpose, you can see here. All right, so let me go ahead and zoom out a little bit here. Let me just push this out further back. And obviously, this is not the way it, let me go ahead and bring that in there. Definitely work with. If you have dual monitors, that's right. Actually, that's what I have, but I just brought everything to once for demo purposes. So how this works is Obviously, I already have the connected on, connected mode on, so they're already connected. You can see that here. The way I could show you that is if I go to, for example, the K1 that I showed you earlier, right? I could click on that, and actually you can see it being highlighted in the mechanical CAD. Right, so I could go to the next one over. There's it right there. So you get an idea how that works, right? So now I'm basically connected with the 2D and the 3D. But now what I need to do is I'm going to send this information, these wires, into my mechanical CAD. Right, so the way to do that, first of all, I need to tell it which wires do I want to do. Now this is where you know, a way to systematically create your route your wires into 3D. You know, if you throw all of them, it's gonna create a bird's nest. It's gonna be all the wires there. So you want to do them in phases, if you will. So I want to go ahead and select those right there, and then I'm gonna, as soon as I do that, you're not be able to see that here, but here, oh, where we go here? Where's my mouse here? Mother, there we go. You're not gonna be able to see that, but it's gonna, this right here, see right now, it's kind of a brownish color. It's gonna turn green because now it's I'm sending this information, bridging out to from my 2D to 3D. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Go ahead, bridge it out, send it over. Now, yes. Now if I go back again here, you can see it's greener. So I'm gonna go ahead and expand my solid. So we're gonna go ahead and focus on here now, on this area here. So I'm going to go ahead and maximize that. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do. And as soon as I click update, you can see your wires come up from like this end here. You see them pop up in there. So up here, you see them up here there. So let me go ahead and do an update. All right, you see them appear there. That's exactly what I was looking for. So the next thing to do is to create a bundle. So I'll go ahead and select the wires here and accept that. The next thing to do is I'm going to create a path on the fly here. And I use this tool right here to kind of already predefine a point there, from this point to this other point here, and accept that and say yes, preview, finish. And you see how I went and put the wires. See how they are now, kind of went around to there. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is route this wire or this bundle here that I created from, you know, this point out to this or location here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use a tool here, route along surface here. And I'm going to use a predefined view here. There you go. So it kind of gives me the better. All right, so once I've done that, I already go ahead and select the bundle there. And now it's asking me to select what surfaces do you want to use. So I want to use this surface and that surface. And at this point, I'm going to start placing, I'm going to start from here. You can kind of see how it starts to kind of work its way out here. And work right there. Oh, sometimes if it doesn't quite you want it to, you can always come back and deselect that again and start over again. So once you get that correct there, here, 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 and there. Perfect. All right, now that I got it routed the way I wanted to, so I'll go ahead and accept that. Finish, and you're done. Route this other one, the other end here, by simply selecting it and make sure I select the right about there. There it is right there. That looks about right. However, I did notice some of the wires here are kind of sticking out too much here. So I could come back and uh, modify them slightly here. So let me wait for my quick pick there. Go to the path and just drag them a little bit in there. Okay, do the same thing with the other one here. Wait for my quick pick here to make that 200 milliseconds there. And basically just drag it again, do the same thing over again. Just because you might get some indication that's violated the bend roll there, bend radius there. So I'll go back again, select that, and just drag it back in. All right. Okay, so that's how that works. You go from 2D, dragging devices, signing pins, and then making it from 2D to 3D. So let me go back to my PowerPoint here. So kind of recap on this, right? So increased demand for intelligent and connected products. Traditional design approach is error prone and costly. Improved collaboration and interaction is key. Solid electrical design is the answer for improving electromechanical products development process.